My name's Nick. I started Nick's Electronics Repair about 10 years ago, and since then we have fixed over 25,000 devices. In today's video, we're going to be working on another Synology DS1813 Plus. This time around, this one has no power whatsoever. So I do have it plugged in, and when I press the power button, nothing happens. Now the customer did try to fix it themselves, and it seems like there could be some damage to it. So let's open it up and take a look and see what's going on. Now that we've removed the 6 screws from the back, we can slide it back and wiggle it. There we go. Now the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the motherboard and remove it out of circuit. So we have a few connectors here. And actually, before we can do the motherboard, we do have to remove the fans from the back. We have 4 more screws. And on the bottom side, we have 3 silver ones. Now, as I remove the fans, I want to be careful because we still have 2 connectors here. So we'll wiggle those off. And now we can remove the 5 screws from the motherboard. Now, there are 2 connectors on the bottom here. So when we remove it, we want to be gentle. Want to start wiggling it out from this corner, and then the board lifts out. And now we're going to take a closer look under the microscope. All right, so this is one of the corners of the circuit board, and we have our daughter board over here. And we're actually going to take a quick look over to the left, and this is where the damage occurred. So if you take a closer look right over here, we have a pad missing, and same as over here. The customer had found that there were 2 capacitors that were ceramic capacitors that were burnt and required replacements. When they tried to remove them, they unfortunately damaged the board. Now this one's going to be an easy repair because it goes right here to this component. So I'm probably going to put my replacement capacitor at a diagonal at a 45-degree angle and just join these 2 joints together. So that should be actually a very easy fix. That's good news. So here it's a little messy. Let's try to clean it up just a little bit with some isopropyl alcohol. And it looks like to me that there are actually 2 traces going to it. So let's expose both of them. And those traces immediately go underneath the board. So actually these 2 right here are very close to being damaged beyond repair. Now out of curiosity, I'm going to see which side is ground. Okay, so these are both ground and this is not. So these are actually just ground pin, which makes it easier. Even if these 2 traces were damaged, we probably could have wired something up from ground, found ground somewhere else. Let's zoom out just a little bit and let's start some soldering. Before we start installing our replacement capacitors, we're going to give the pads a quick clean. And we're going to want to make sure that we tin our pads here. This way it'll just make it easier for when we install the replacement capacitors. And we don't need to tin on that side. Now we can go ahead and install our replacement capacitors. And these are going to be, I believe, 10 microfarads, 16 volts. So actually, we're going to flip this whole ordeal around. It's going to make it a little bit easier for me to solder on that side. And you know what? We're going to swap soldering tips because that tip is a little too large. I'm having a hard time getting in the right spot. Just going to add a little flux just to make it easier on myself. And I am having a very hard time soldering to that pad. There we go. That was strangely difficult. All right, now I'm going to reinforce just a little bit here, add a little extra. Now for this one, I'm going to add extra solder on that side, and we're going to slide in our replacement. Now the joint on this side looks a little bit odd. Didn't flow as well as I would like for it to. So we're gonna add a little flux and touch it up. And that's much better. All right, let's remove and clean off that flux. And I think we're ready to live test. Actually, I just forgot, we do want to replace the battery as well, the CMOS, before we go ahead and power it on. And it's not necessarily before we power it on, but before we put everything back together, because these CMOS batteries, they go out. This unit's pretty old. And you know what? I just broke a little piece of the plastic, but this should be okay. These are pretty fragile. We're gonna do a quick voltage check. See if this CMOS battery is dead. And I am getting not even a volt, 1.2. 0, and it's going up and down between 0 and 1.2. It's supposed to be 3.3 or 3 volts at least. So good thing we're changing that out. And now we're ready to live test. And let's see. We get our blue light. We did not have that before the unit was completely dead. All right, the unit is fully booted in. We have our blue light and our status light is on. So let's go ahead and put it all back together, and then we're just gonna make sure that it shows up on the network and that we're able to access it. And it does look like we found it. All right, so it is detecting it. It says no drives. I just inserted a drive, so let's try reloading, and it is seeing it now. All right. So we're not gonna actually go through the whole thing. I just wanted to show you that everything is working as it should, which it is. So that does complete our repairs. If you're interested in sending in your Synology device for us to fix, we'll have links to our flat rate repair services. That'll be in the video description down below. Otherwise, if you found the video helpful or useful, make sure to leave us a like, subscribe for more content, and thank you for watching.